Ladies and gentlemen, let us all rise for the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, helas ang sinangalan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagatak tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang lang matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di matitingin. Luman ang araw ng walhati pansin ka, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya na pagkay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please settle down. Please take your seats.
Good afternoon. Before anything else, let me first introduce our host for today. Titin Villanueva is a theater artist who graduated with honors from the University of the Philippines in 2014 with a degree in BA Theater Arts. She recently worked with Theater Group Asia in their production of Into the Woods, where she played the role of Little Red Riding Hood. As an actress for the stage, she has worked with companies such as 𝗩𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗃 UP, Atlantis Theatrical, and the Philippine Educational Theater Association. Her notable projects include Collection, 𝗦𝗫𝗃 the Musical, Ang Nawawalang Kapatid, Rock of Ages, 3 Stars and a Sun, Ako si Josephine, Kung Paano Maghiwalay, Tagu-Taguan Nasaan ang Buwan, The Kundiman Party, Desaparecidos, Charot, and Beautiful the Carole King Musical. Her notable on-screen projects include ABS-CBN's 𝗍𝗲𝗍𝗀 and Ticket to Me's #BoysLockdownBL series. Aside from being an actress, she is also a teacher and voice talent. Everyone, let's welcome Miss Titin Villanueva.
Thank you so much, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to this year's Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Awards. I am Titin Villanueva, and I am your host for this event. We are celebrating a milestone, 25 years of Best First Books. To officially start our program and to let us know how it all began, let us give a warm round of applause to Attorney Gisela Madrigal-Gonzalez Montinola.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by doing something extremely simple, which is reading the list of the winners for the last 24 years. I think it's a relief these days to be told the simple truth, and reading a list without insertions is one of the best ways I can think of, as well as honoring the winners. So we'll start with 2001. Let's take off my glasses. Life Before X and Other Stories by Angelo Lacuesta, Paghuhunos, Ellen Sikat, Smaller and Smaller Circles, Felisa Batacan, Makinilyang Altar, Luna Sikat Cleto, The Sky Over Dumas, Vicente Groyon, Mga Tulang Tulala, Piling Tula sa Filipino, Bicol at Rinconada, Christian Cordero, Love, Desire, Children, etc., Reflections of a Young Wife by Rica Bolipata-Santos, who together with Sarge are judges today. And also with Vicente Groyon. Pagluwas by 𝗍𝗶𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀, the 𝗣𝗲𝗶𝗶𝗶 Variations by Adam David, Agaw Dilim, Agaw Liwanag, 𝗩𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗃, The Highest Hiding Place, Poems by Lawrence Lacambra Ipil, Bugtong ng Buwan at Iba Pang Kwento, Will P. Ortiz, Buddy Hall, Alan Pastrana, Ang Pasipiko sa Loob ng Aking Maleta, 𝗍𝗲𝗁𝗁𝗍𝗍, Mona Lisa, A Portrait, Celine Beatrice Fabie, Uberman by Zero AD, All My Lonely Islands, Victorette Joy Campilan, Dead Balagtas Tomo 1, Mga Sayaw ng Dagat at Lupa, Emiliana V. Campilan, The Quiet Ones, Glenn Diaz, Filipino, Ang Mga Prosisyong. So in 2021, there were 2 winners because in 2020, being the time of COVID, the award was not given. And so we made up for it by catching up in 2021. So in Filipino, Ang Mga Prosisyong by Frank Simatu. Ang Mga Prosisyong Dumaan sa Unang Bangungot by Frank Simatu. And English is Wing of the Locust by Joel Donato. And Ching Jacob. Were there 2 winners? Okay. Joel Donato, Ching Jacob. Makeda by Nap Arcilia III, Armor Stories by John Bengan, and Sa Kailang Sirkulo ng Impyerno by Miguel Paulo Celestial. So we poured a little bit of bubbly for this occasion. So may I ask you to raise your glasses in a toast to the winners for the last 24 years and to the winner today in advance. Oh, thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
I would just like to, say a few words about how the award began. 25 years ago, Jing Hidalgo whispered in my ear, it might be a nice idea to have an award honoring young writers. And this award could maybe have a little bit of money attached to it that could help them maybe buy a laptop, maybe write for 2 months without thinking of having to support themselves. And that's how this award was born. With us today is Jessica Safra, who was a judge for the very first one. The winner was Sarge Lacuesta, who is a judge today, but is apparently not with us, although he was supposed to be here. So, Jing Hidalgo kindly agreed to lead the panel of judges and take care of the award for this year. She chose 3 previous winners of the Madrigal-Gonzalez Book Award, and that brings us full circle, which to me is something that's very fulfilling and very satisfying. I'd just like to say a few words about writing and about truth. And I think one of the things that really writers do is they have a desire or maybe even a longing for truth. And I think built into them is also a kind of homing device that allows them to find the truth. And the act of writing itself is this act of finding this felt sense of what is excellent and of what is true. And because of that, it is something that is so needed, particularly in these times of ours. So thank you so much for continuing to write. So I'd like to thank the judges for this year, whose names I've mentioned. I'd like to thank ICW Likhaan, who's been our partner for 25 years. There are probably publishers in this room. The one I know is Corina Bolasco, which I'd like to make special mention of, because as I was coming in, people were telling me, she's published all of us, or many of us. So thank you. Thank you to the pioneers in publishing. Thank you for all the pioneers in this room. Many have been in literature for a long time. And thank you for those who are not yet pioneers. Hopefully you will become pioneers one day. So welcome to everyone. I'd like to mention Vim, who's been in Likhaan for many, many years, Charles Ong, and the rest of you, you know who you are. I'm sorry if I didn't mention you. Welcome again to the finalists. We're excited to hear your work. Oh, one thing. Thank you for this 25th year edition of Likhaan. There's a Likhaan book coming out that puts together writers of previous winners and I think also finalists or just winners. Finalists and winners. So hopefully it will be available if not online and or in print. So thank you again and good day.
Thank you once again, Ma'am Gisela. Thank you so much for that message. And now moving on. To deliver our welcoming remarks, let me call in front the director of the Likhaan UP Institute of Creative Writing, Dr. Vladimir B. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Ms. Titin. Welcome po. Maraming salamat po sa pagdalo. Sa ngalan ng Likhaan UP Institute of Creative Writing, siyempre una pagbati sa mga napili bilang finalist ng ika-25 taon nitong Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award. Na ito po si Nadine, si N.H. Legaspi, si Michael Beltran, lakpakan po natin sila, Douglas Candano, and of course si Alyza Taguilaso, at parang tercera ito sa natatanging pagganap, natatanging pagbanggit, narito rin po si Susan Tier Agbayani. So si Michael po, hindi ko lang kung makakahabol, pero syempre binabati natin sila sa pagiging bahagi itong 25th iteration ng award. Kasama rin ako siyempre sa mga naghahayag ng mainit na pagsalubong at pasasalamat kay Atty. Gisela Madrigal-Gonzalez Montinola, sa mga fellow, advisor, mga dating director at iba pang kasapi ng Likhaan 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗃, mga manunulat at artistang nagsilbi bilang kasapi ng panel of readers sa iba't ibang panahon ng gawad. Ma'am Jen ay nandiyan din sa likod, marami pang iba nagsilbi bilang part ng judging panel. Gayon din sa mga finalists at awardee ng kasalukuyan nga at nakaraang mga siklo. Nakasama rin ang mga ilang mahalagang tao sa kailang buhay, yung mga napayagang mag+1 nung may mga umabsent po sa pag-confirm. Pagbati po sa lahat ng narito sa ating pagtitipon. Ako po ay siyempre matagal na fan ng Likhaan bilang estudyante at nakilala kong ang tanggapang ito bilang isang lugar kung saan nagtatagpo ang iba't ibang malikaing isip na naghahanap at naghahangad ng mga espasyo upang maipakilala ang kanilang pagsipat sa ating daigdig. Bilang dating bahagi ng laging ina-apply ng mga tao, UP National Writers Workshop noong 2002, hanggang sa maging associate ako ng ICW noong 2016, hanggang sa magsilbi bilang administrador at direktor, ang palaging nauulit na ideya tungkol sa UP ICW ay ang pagtatampok nito ng mga bata o umuusbong na manunulat patungo sa mas malalim na pagpapahalaga sa sining at panitikan. Sa magkakaibang bersyon at revisyon ng aming bisyon at misyon, naroon palagi ang mandato ng pagpapakilala o muling pagpapakilala ng panitikan at malikayang pagsulat, pagsasalin at pag-uugnay ng lahat ng ito sa mas malawak na hanay ng mga mamabasa at manlilika sa loob at labas ng UP. Isang makabuluhan at matingkad na halimbawa, itong Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award, na napasimulan nga, gaya na nasabi, noong 2001. Mula sa inisyatiba ng paglalaan ng pondo para sa pinakamuhusay na unang libro, nagluwal at pinag-ugnay ng Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award ang maraming henerasyon ng mga manunulat na nagkaroon na rin ng iba't ibang pagkilala sa kanilang pagpapatuloy. Alam ng lahat na mga kasama ngayong araw na kay raming duda, dugo at pawis, panalangin, prayers, at pagpupursigi ang pinagdaraanan para makalika ng unang aklat. Sa tulong ng ganitong mga pagkilala, nagkaroon at nagkakaroon ng tuntungan ang bawat isa na maglimi pa, na patuloy pang paglaruin ng hiraya, at syempre magsulat. Nasusuportahan ito ng marami pang kolaborasyong pinasisimulan ng UP ICW, so promotion time, bukod sa advanced workshop na UP NWW, nariyan na rin ng 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗃 Writers Workshop na nakatutok sa nagsisimulang manunulat at taunang nagbabago-bago ang tema. next year po ay young adult novel po yata. So kung may kilala kayong gusto sumali, join us. Meron po tayong interdisciplinary book forum na nagtatampok sa mga aklat ng University of the Philippines Press. Gayon din ang mga eksperto sa malikhaing pagsulat at iba pang larangan. May mga karagdagang talakayan sa panayam sa panitikan o PAN at pagtatanghal naman sa pamamagitan ng seryeng ganap. Regular pa rin naglilimbag ng Likhaan, Journal of Contemporary Philippine Literature, kasama ang espesyal na issue nito na kukwento natin maya-maya. At naibalik na simula noong 2020 ang paglilimbag ng aklat mula sa mga naging kalok sa workshop at iba pang gawain ng ICW na tinatawag nating Philippine Writer Series. At naipakilala rin ang proyekto ng mga librong salin sa pamamagitan ng Philippine Translator Series. Ang Gonzales Reading Room, na isang inisyatiba rin mula kay Atty. Ging, sa ngalan ng kanyang ama at dating Board of Regents member na si Gonzalo Gonzales, para sa inyong kaalaman, may online GGRR podcast po tayo na mapapanood sa Facebook page ng GGRR. So meron po tayong pa-acronym para mga bagets medyo manood sa atin. Lahat ng proyekto at kolaborasyon ay nakalinya sa bisyon nitong 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶. Ang pagsulong, syempre, ng espasyong nagpapayabong ng pagkamalikhain, espasyong nagpaparamdam na ang malikhaing paghahayag ay marapat gawing accessible, mapag-aruga, inklusibo, at palagi may puwang sa pagpapatuloy. Gagamitin ko rin ang pagkakataong ito para pasalamatan ng aming Deputy Director, si Rexando Nepomuceno na nasa likod. Palakpakan po natin ating mga staff po. Pasalamat sa staff. Ang project research assistants namin, sina PB Maranya, yung mga may headset, Rona de la Peña, Cheryl Ronya, marami pa pong iba. Pero yung mga lead project assistants aking binabanggit. Kasama po ang iba pang project assistants at administrative staff ng UP Likhaan na laging katuwang sa pagsigurong komportable, saka special po ang pakiramdam ng bawat pagtitipon kasama ang UP-ICW. Ngayon po, kapag nagkabahaginan na at naihayag na ang panalo sa ating 25th Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award, sana naman ay makita-kita tayo ngayong ika-10 ng Disyembre sa Ignacio B. Jimenez Gallery sa UP Diliman para sa ating taunang Writers' Night. Sa ngayon, tayo po ay muli nagpapasalamat kay Atty. Ging at sa lahat ng kasama dito at muli po isang mainit na pagbati sa Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award para sa 25 taon ng pagsuporta sa pag-usbong nitong isang mahalagang yugto sa buhay manunulat.
Thank you so much, Sir Vlad. Thank you. And now, to officially commence our ceremony, let me welcome the head of this year's 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶. Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo is a writer of fiction and non-fiction, a critic and a literary scholar with more than 40 published books, including 3 novels, 5 short story collections, and 16 collections of non-fiction. She has received multiple literary awards, the latest being the SEA Wright Award for Literature in 2022, an international award granted by the royal family of Thailand. She has also received national awards for lifetime achievement, the Carlos Palanca Dangal ng Lahi Award, the 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗹 Award from the Union ng mga Manunulat sa Pilipinas or 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗶, and the Parangal Hagbong from the UST Varsitarian, and many palancas, including the Carlos Palanca Grand Prize for the novel Recuerdo, and National Book Awards for individual works. Her latest published books are Encantada, The Essential Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo, and Complete Stories and Tales. A new book, The Lamplit Desk, a writer's diary, is forthcoming from UST. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the head of this year's panel, and to introduce the rest of the panel of judges, let's give a warm round of applause to Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo.
Thank you for that long introduction. Now I feel I have to make these introductions longer so that it doesn't look like I was being favored. So allow me to present our distinguished panel of judges. Unfortunately, 2 of them could not join us for today. The first is Rica Bolipata-Santos, who has a PhD in English Studies, Creative Writing from the UP, and an MA and AB in English Literature from Ateneo. I take pride in having been her professor in UP and in serving as her advisor for her dissertation. Rica has been teaching in Ateneo for more than 25 years. Indeed, she is a quintessential and much revered teacher. She also served as executive director of the Ateneo Library of Women's Writings, that's ALIW, from 2005 to 2013. And she was director of the Ateneo University Press from 2013 to 2015, and again in 2023 to the present. She is responsible for creating the Ateneo's 𝗍𝗶𝘁 imprint for its literary titles. In fact, she belongs to an extraordinary batch of women who have played a major role in literary publishing in the Philippines, which includes Gloria Rodriguez of New Day, Karina Bolasco of 𝗍𝗶𝘁𝗶 Publishing, who is here with us today. Yes, please clap for her. Esther Pacheco of Ateneo, Laura Samson of UP, and Micheline Manalastas of UST. I think their story is still to be written. Also a publisher. Myself, well, never mind that. She, meaning Rica, received the Madrigal-Gonzalez for the book Love, Desire, Children, etc., published by Mil Flores in 2003. The first work of creative nonfiction for that year, no, for the entire contest, no? And if I'm not mistaken, the only book of nonfiction in English that has won this award. Thus, her second book, titled Navel, was published by the UST Publishing House in 2013. Then we have Vicente Garcia Groyon, whom I met in 1992 when he was a writing fellow of the UP National Writers Workshop, which, if memory serves me, was the last such workshop to be held in the Diliman campus. It was a time of a lot of brownouts, I remember. This was an extraordinary bunch, many of whom went on to build successful careers. His first novel, Sky Over Dimas, so his first book, Sky Over Dimas, is a Gothic, set in the Gothic romantic world of the Bacolod haciendas. It won the Palanca Gold. He has also published a short story collection on cursed ground and 3 works of creative nonfiction, sometimes referred to as the Everything series. Everything is Fiction, which is actually a collection of nonfiction, essays on the art of writing and of being a writer, including experimenting in mixing different subgenres in one piece: travel writing, memoir, and literary commentary. Then the second book in the series is called Everything is Realism, Essays on Narrative Craft, which is basically literary criticism of the most distinctive kind: humorous, self-deprecating, erudite, but never pretentious, at once romantic and ironic. And then the last book, Everything is First Person, an astonishing book that ranges over a field that includes, on the one hand, travel writing as funny as it is riveting, and literary journalism that is clipped, terse, and shocking. Finally, Sarge Lacuesta, who also goes by the name of Angelo R. Lacuesta, belongs to the same batch of UP National Writers Fellows as Vince, and was actually the best poet in the group, according to 𝗍𝗻𝗄𝗑. At that time, he was graduating from UP Diliman with a BS in biology and had been accepted into the UP PGH medical program, I think the honors program, no? He was also singing lead for a rock band. He did enter the program and stayed for a while, and then he left it to go into the world of advertising and eventually to set up his own advertising company, while also editing the literary section of the Philippines Free Press, and later serving as editor-at-large of Esquire magazine, and publishing 4 short story collections, 1 novel, 1 comic book, and 2 film scripts, and producing the movies based on those scripts. His short story collection, Life Before X, published by UP in 2000, won the very first Madrigal-Gonzalez. He is married to the award-winning poet 𝗍𝗶𝘁𝗍𝗶𝗃 Katigbak, and together they own and run the indie publishing house Good Intentions. I was supposed to, the reason for this spiel was to convince you that the judges had every right to judge. But I think after what I have said, I need add no more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, attorney. And now moving on to the next. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Jing. Now for the next portion of our program, it's time to introduce our finalists. First, our first finalist, Douglas Candano, author of Infinite Lives, Infinite Deaths, published by Penguin Random House, Southeast Asia. Douglas James Limpe Candano holds a BA in Development Studies from the Ateneo de Manila University and a Master's of Urban Planning degree from McGill University. His fiction has won the Philippines Free Press Literary Award and the Don Carlos Palanca Memorial Award for Literature, and has been collected in Infinite Lives, Infinite Deaths. He has also written for film and theater, collaborating on films such as 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶, Love is a Dog from Hell, Makamisa, Pantasma ng Higante, as well as the maximalist musical Super Macho Anticristo, a headless 100-act opera to mend all broken bicycles of the universe, according to Jerry and Rizal. Aside from a side career as one of the country's top competitive eaters, he currently serves as the Director for Applied Research, Development, and Documentation of a research institute that implements and updates the 𝗍𝗻𝗁 protocol, the comprehensive community-based sustainable planning model developed by the late Dr. Sixto K. Rojas. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause to the author of Infinite Lives, Infinite Deaths, our finalist, Douglas Candano. Up next, Alyza Taguilaso, author of Juggernaut, published by UST Publishing House. Alyza Taguilaso is a general surgeon. Her poems have been shortlisted for a Pushcart and Riesling Award and other contests like the Manchester Poetry Prize and Bridport Poetry Prize. Her poems have been published in several publications, including Electric Literature, Crazy Horse, The Deadlands, Cantheus, Fantasy Magazine, Nightmare Magazine, Strange Horizons, Orbis Journal, and Voice and Verse, among others. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another warm of applause to the author of Juggernaut, our finalist, Alyza Taguilaso. Our third finalist, Michael Beltran, the author of The Singing Detainee and The Librarian with one book, Essays on Exile, but published by the Ateneo Press. Michael Beltran is an activist and award-winning independent journalist. In 2024, his book was a finalist for the National Book Awards. In the same year, the book was published internationally, and in 2025, it was translated into German. Beltran volunteers with community news outfit Pinoy Weekly. Ladies and gentlemen, the author of The Singing Detainee and The Librarian with one book, Essays on Exile, Michael Beltran. Welcome, yes. And last but not the least is 𝗦𝗊𝗁𝗍𝗍 Legaspi, the author of The Fireline, Stories from Cagayan de Oro, published by UP Press. 𝗦𝗊𝗁 Legaspi is an author, translator, and publisher from Cagayan de Oro City. She has a bachelor's degree in English from Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan and a master's degree in creative writing from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. She leads Bulawan Books, the publishing arm of the writers collective Nagkahiusang Magsusulat sa Cagayan de Oro, or NAGMAC, and is the founder of 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶 Publishing OPC, an independent small press in CDO. She is a part-time instructor at the Department of English Language and Literature of Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan. Ladies and gentlemen, the author of The Fireline, Stories from Cagayan de Oro, our finalist, 𝗦𝗊𝗁 Legaspi. Let's give another warm round of applause to our 4 finalists: Douglas Candano, Alyza Taguilaso, Michael Beltran, and 𝗦𝗊𝗁 Legaspi. Congratulations to the 4 of you. And now it's time for our open forum. So if anyone has any questions, the audience can ask a question, even our panel of judges can ask a question. You may raise your hand, and then we will give you a microphone. Any questions? Okay, I'll start off with the very first question for our 4 finalists. Okay, of course, your journey into creating your very first book, of course, it wasn't easy. So, did you have any inspiration, or what urged you to start your first book? Did you have a mentor who told you, you should write your own book? If we can have your stories from all of our finalists, starting with, yes, Sir Douglas, yes.
What was your question
Your
again?
inspiration, or what urged you to start writing your first book? Or did you have any mentors?
Inspiration. All of the stories, all of the component stories in the book have their own inspiration at some point. But
Yes, it's on.
Should I discuss each one now?
Yeah, you can. Share what you want to share. This is the time for us to get to know you. Yeah.
Well, inspiration. They're mostly like they're mostly conceptual syntheses of different various things that normally wouldn't go together. For example, like Dreaming Valhalla blends Norse mythology with the rise and fall of a panziteria turned into a girly bar, and it's patterned after the rise and fall of the Norse gods until Ragnarok. And then what else? As for mentors, there have been a lot over the years.
Who encouraged you to write the book?
Not the book, because not the book itself, but the different component stories. My teachers, my workshop panelists, my friends from the Ateneo, especially in the Heights. I think.
Yes, thank you. Up next, yes. What was your inspiration, or did you have any mentors?
My inspiration, trauma.
Oh my
a lot of trauma. But I didn't trauma dump. I learned to wield that trauma in a way that was useful, I think, because I have a very complicated life. Even my work, complicated things. So what I did was, I owe a lot to my teachers. My first ever poetry class was under 𝗪𝗠𝗍𝗶𝗋, so one of the awardees. So from there, what I did was, since I was a science major, I joined the writing workshops. I was fortunate enough to join IAS, Ateneo, Dumaguete, and then recently UST. So those are the things I use to help with what I write, along with what I read. So I also read a lot. I also have a lot. I'm also fortunate to be around in the company of good friends, specifically Christine Lau, who recently also released her book under UP Press, has been encouraging me through the years. My other Wi-Fi friends, Kaelko and Villases, we would give each other prompts. So there would be an active way to inculcate our experiences. Because in Juggernaut, I talk about a juggernaut of things. I talk about family, I talk about surgery, I talk about patients, I talk about the Philippines. A lot of things. So I tried to helm that. I tried to rein all of those in. And you can't get that with trauma dumping. But the trauma does help. Yun po.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Yeah. Hello. So relate ako.
Just in time, just in time.
Great timing. But
Yes.
yung inspiration, I think my mom, because my mom was an activist, and so I grew up with all of her, and all of her friends were activists, and so growing up at the dinner table with a lot of activists all the time produces a lot of story, and so even this book was a sort of me getting to know my mother's friends and the people in my mother's stories, and in the stories of my mother's friends. And for inspiration, I think I went to school. I would sit in like nonfiction classes in UP with the consent of the professor. I'm not not just sneaking into some class. And specifically, Professor Larissa May Suarez in UP. She really helped me a lot with this, not just for letting me sneak into her class, but also helping me develop a lot of the ideas that were later finalized in the book. Yeah.
Thank you so much. How about you?
So for me, the book was my graduate thesis, so my inspiration was to get that sablay, basically. But while I was thinking of what to write for my graduate thesis, I had realized that growing up in Cagayan de Oro, I had not read that many works of fiction that were set in Cagayan de Oro. Cagayan de Oro City has a long writing tradition, but unfortunately, it's not very well documented. So I've spoken to many writers recently, and we've been talking about this lost generation of Cagayanon writers that we would like to somehow unearth and maybe document in some way in the future. So that's a future project of mine. And of course, as inspiration goes, again, I wanted to write about my hometown. I wanted to write, to those who aren't familiar, parang yung tourism moniker ng Cagayan de Oro is the city of gold and friendship. So a lot to unpack there, as you can imagine. So of course, I wanted to peel back that very cheery moniker and looking at maybe a real picture of what my hometown looks like, and hopefully get a reader to look at their hometowns with a new pair of eyes, so to speak.
Thank you so
of course,
much.
My work is inspired by my teachers and mentors in my MA and in my publishing career, many of whom are in this room. So I'm very grateful for that too. Thank you.
A round of applause for our 4 finalists. Do we have any questions for the audience at this point? Any questions? Are you curious about anything you want to ask our finalists? Okay, if there's no other questions, I have a question for you. Are you currently preparing to write your second book? We want to hear from all of you. Yes, what's up next for you?
I'm trying to write one story first before I plan a second book. Pag nakabuo ng enough siguro, then I'll think about it. But I'm working on a story right now. But
yes. Yes, at your own pace, right? It's better to not rush anything. How about you?
The manuscript for my second book is done. It just won the grant for the NBDB publications grant. It's different from the first book because the second book, I really worked at it like a project, whereas the first book, the first book is usually the collection of works. The second book took 2 years to make. The first book took 15. So there's a big difference in those two. Yun pa. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. How about you?
Let's not jinx it. No, secret muna.
Secret. Okay. NDA.
Pressure.
Okay. How about you?
I've often heard about how difficult it is to put out your second book, so that in itself is very daunting. But I guess an additional, challenge for me is in 2017, I injured my hands. I was once an encoder, and so I injured my hands, and now I'm not able to type on a standard keyboard. So I basically wrote the book and finished my thesis by voice typing. So if you haven't tried it, I invite you to try speaking/yelling at your device to transcribe what you're saying. So I've been a little the question of what's next, what your second book is going to be, is very daunting for me. But I'm very lucky to have gotten the opportunity to get a translation grant from the NBDB. And so I just finished the English translation of 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗃 by 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗃𝗃. So hopefully that's coming out next year. But I've also always wanted to write a historical novel, again set in Cagayan de Oro. So I guess with the right funding and the right physical push, I can get that done. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I have a last question, but just in case anyone has a question before we ask our last question to our finalists. Anyone? Okay, if you have any questions, you can approach our finalists after the program. The last question I have for the four of you, before you return the microphone to me. I'm sure you had a lot of challenges when you were planning and writing about your book. What were the challenges and obstacles you had to overcome? What did you do? What helped you? And if you have any tips for anyone who's interested to write their very first book.
On my end, I think it was more of the research that goes into the stories. Sometimes I really had to look for resources and figure out how things fit together. And as much as in my line of work, we use a variety of qualitative and quantitative methods to determine, let's say, the highest and best use of available resources in the locality. It doesn't work that way in fiction. We use more, the parameters are more fuzzy. We use more fuzzy logic, so it's trying to synthesize everything that takes the most time, to be honest. Okay.
Thank you so much. How about you?
For the first book, I'd say it was when I got ghosted. UST Publishing House was not the first publishing house that was supposed to release Juggernaut. It was initially accepted by a UK-based publishing house. However, when I negotiated the contract regarding first language rights, because I was particular with that, I said, I'm only going to give you first British rights, because why would they take everything else, right? Parang lugi yung author. They ghosted me. So I think that was around the ninth or the 8th revision for the manuscript. The one that went to UST was the 10th. So I revised the thing 10 times. Yun lang po, contract-related issue. Very annoying. Thank you po.
I think the biggest challenge for me was when Marcos Jr. won the election. Because I was writing about a lot of people in exile, escaping from martial law, escaping abroad from martial law. And so the return of the dictator's son had me change a lot of the details. So there's a lot of nice, juicy details that I would have wanted to include in the text, but I had to, for security reasons, I had to change everybody's name, change a lot of the details, change or remove a lot of the details that would have made the story fresher. But of course, some things are more important. And so, yeah, and then just writing during the lockdown was also quite challenging. But I think those two things.
Thank you so much. And last but not the least.
Aside from the voice typing I mentioned, I started writing these stories while I was still based in Quezon City, while I was working in Ateneo Press. And I steadily realized that it's so difficult to write about a place that you're not physically in. And I realized that I needed to go home because I was starting to forget about these places that I wanted to write about. So I had to essentially put my career on pause to come home to CDO and finish the thesis that would become this book. So yeah, that was a particular challenge.
You didn't answer my one question. For one sentence, just in one sentence, what advice would you give people who are interested to write their first book? One sentence.
Well, I guess it would be whatever you write, it's not necessarily you. So it's something that conditions me when dealing with rejection, it's not necessarily, something like that, something along those lines.
For people who want to write their first book, read. Yeah, a lot of people want to write, but they don't want to read. Yun lang.
Mag-ipon muna kasi mamakain sa oras eh. Yun yung isang napansin ko. Tapos, it's okay that you don't have a clear idea of what your book is going to look like even at the beginning. Yeah.
One piece of advice that I got from my advisor, Dr. 𝗬𝗲𝗶𝗃 Villaseran, for my thesis, because when I went home to CDO, I realized the reasons why I wanted to leave in the first place. I think with people who are from the regions, you grow up in this regional town and you just can't wait to leave. And then time comes where the big bad city kind of, does a number on you and you have to return to the city you couldn't wait to leave. So there were many things that I confronted when I came home to CDO that essentially I had, wanted to escape from or run away from, and it became apparent in my stories. Apparently, Ma'am Marby was able to see it, and then her advice to me is something that I like to tell young writers also, is to don't be afraid to go there, don't be afraid to confront things, don't be afraid to examine why you feel a certain way about things, and don't be afraid to write about it. It can be really intimidating to kind of find out just what exactly you think about a thing or confront something with your writing. But I think it's an essential part of becoming a writer. So that's it.
That's the end of our open forum. Thank you so much to our 4 finalists for answering our questions. And up next, it's time to hear from our judges. We're all curious to know how they underwent the process of judging and choosing the finalists. Unfortunately, 2 of our judges couldn't be here today, but they made sure to send their regards via a recorded video. First, let's hear from the winner of the 5th MGBFBA in 2005 for his book, 𝗩𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗶, Judge Vicente Garcia Groyon.
Good afternoon. My name is Vicente Garcia Groyon, and I'm one of the judges for this year's Madrigal-Gonzalez First Book Award. It's my second time to serve as a judge. The first time was in 2007 when my co-judge, Rica Bolipata-Santos, won for her collection of essays. I don't have the exact numbers, but there seem to be about 3 times as many entries this year as there were in 2007. This year, the judges read about 34 books in total. We did note that there were several self-published titles, as well as many entries from small independent presses. This helps to account for the increase in the number of entries this year. The opening up of the publishing space means that more new voices can be heard, which is a good thing. But the downside to that, I guess, would be that there is a dip in terms of quality control. But I guess that's another debate for another time. This year, many of the writers were very young. Several of the entries came from recent graduates of the Philippine High School for the Arts who were publishing their first big projects for the first time. On the other hand, there were also many writers who were older, and their books were a kind of a gathering together of years of steady work into a single volume for the first time. So that meant that there was a great diversity in terms of the tone, in terms of style, in terms of subject matter. And that diversity I guess, led to the fact that initially there were very, very few overlaps between the long lists of the judges. We initially thought that we would only need one discussion to arrive at a list of finalists and the winner, but we ended up having 2 meetings about a month apart to come up with our short list of finalists and to select the winner from among them. We received the book sometime in July, early in July, and we had our first meeting early in October, which means that we had about 3 months in order to read 34 books. For this year, I committed myself to reading every single word from every single entry. I did not allow myself the luxury of a DNF. And I have to admit that finishing the book was a struggle in a few cases. But overall, the experience was pleasant and educational even. Now, what was I looking for in the books? I can't really say that I was looking for anything specific in particular. We didn't set any criteria, and we didn't even bother to define what the word best means. But I guess apart from a certain dexterity with language, which I feel is a given in these types of contests, whether it's in the use or the misuse of English, it was more like waiting for a book to grab my attention and to linger in my memory after I had put it down. So what tended to stand out among the books was 2 things. First of all, a certain confidence and a self-assuredness of the voice, which kind of gives the reader a sense of comfort and security and assurance that they're going to be taken care of by this particular writer, and the experience is going to be worthwhile in the end. So that's the first, a certain confidence in the voice. And the second one is a strong perspective, by which I mean a singular way of seeing the world, which is expressed consistently all throughout the work. Now, in the end, I feel like the 3 judges, my co-judges and I, were very happy with the finalists that we settled on and the winner that we finally selected. And we're quite certain that they do represent the best of this year's crop. So I guess there's nothing left for me to say except congratulations to the finalists and to the winner. And I guess we're all looking forward to your second book. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir Vince. And before we move on to the next judge, may I request our 4 finalists to please return to your seats so that you have a better view of the video. Thank you so much. Up next, let's listen to the message from the winner of the 7th 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗍 in 2007 for her book, Love, Desire, Children, etc. Reflections of a Young Wife. Judge Rica Bolipata-Santos.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Rica Bolipata-Santos, the recipient of the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award in 2007. I just want to begin by congratulating attorney for the past 25 years of truly supporting new writers with their publications and for giving them the necessary push to continue writing. I was a very happy recipient of this award. I was a newbie in the literary world and I didn't know anything really about the way things were in the literary world, so I was very surprised and very, very happy to have received this award. This was many years ago when my children were still young at the awarding event. I still remember saying that line that as someone who had been writing since I was young, there was enough pleasure for me in the way my hand would glide across the page. So being published and being recognized for my work was beyond belief. So thank you so much for that. I've built my life around reading and writing. I'm currently the director of the Ateneo Press. I get invited to judge certain things and I have always said yes. I think because I really love to read. And reading allows me not just for greater knowledge and wisdom and a wider perspective on things, no, but it also keeps me abreast on what things are what writers are writing about, what are the concerns of our young writers, what are the different areas of life I haven't seen yet. So any chance to read more is always such a joy for me. When I was asked to judge again for the Madrigal-Gonzalez, no, and this year we had 34 entries, or 35, I think, or maybe 36, almost beyond count. For me, I'd first like to just hold the book very reverentially, to really give it its proper time and space. I like feeling the weight of a book. I like the production of it, so I like looking at the size of it and the heft of it and the shape of it, the smell of it, the page, the font, the titles chosen, and then there's of course genre. What are the different genres, the different categories available, and then I take the time to read each one. I'm also a professor of literature, so I teach across all genres, so I do have a bit of knowledge about form and technique. I think what I'm looking for, which I think I said in the anniversary video, is a breadth of depth, and what I say in my class, so either the writer is saying something new or the writer is saying something unnew, something we've already all known but said in a different way, or illustrated in a different way, or given a different kind of shine or a different kind of attention. I love language very much. I love the power of language, the infinity available to anyone who is in the business of putting words together. The 35 to 36 titles, such a joy to know also as a publisher that there's so many books out there, and that how do we, one of the things that I really think about now is how to get these books to a greater audience. So I'm happy to be part of that work somehow, that when we choose finalists, we are telling the public that with limited, we all have limited resources for purchasing books. These are titles that you can try. These are titles that we are saying are worth reading, or worth taking a look at, or worth investing in. I do want to thank the other titles, even if you're not a finalist. Does it mean your work wasn't good, or does it mean it wasn't worth a read? Because we read all of them. A contest or a competition is never perfect. So do keep writing. I've never really been award winning. I've always just been writing, which is such a joy and such a privilege to do so. So for this particular batch, the finalists did something with phenomenon, did something with experience, did something with language, did something that was surprising, and something that engaged me as a reader. And I do hope that these books are received by a greater public, and that they are enjoyed for many, many years. Thanks so much for listening to me this afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to be part of the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award. I wish you all a good afternoon and an Advent season full of love and hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Rica. While they couldn't be here today, their presence is surely felt. Now, let us hear from the judges that are here with us today regarding their process. Let me call on stage Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo and Mr. Sarge Lacuesta.
ako magsasalita.
Yes, ma'am, so that you can share about the judging process.
I can speak. Pero hindi kasing organized nung kay Rica and Vince. No, I want to thank the Madrigal-Gonzalez best first para matamaan ng camera. Sige, paki-explain kung bakit hindi ka judge.
I want to explain. Generally, the setup for this Madrigal-Gonzalez is there are 3 judges. 2 are external judges, and then there is 1 judge who belongs to Likhaan. And that was supposed to be me. But there were several entries submitted by the 𝗍𝗶𝘁𝗶 Publishing House. And I am a member of the editorial board. So I abstained, and I just ran the show, in effect, because that was my assignment from Sir Vlad. So I couldn't say no. And so I just ran it, but I didn't serve as a judge. That was here, Sarge.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
sir.
Di ko alam magsasalita ako. Pero actually, I have a lot to say. No? I want to thank the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Awards. Kasi also, especially for giving me your inaugural honor. No, I remember this kasi it was Jing who texted me 25 years ago, no, saying that I had won the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book. I didn't know there was an awards, no? So I went to the awards, and I read my own citation. It was that small, no? But it's my most unforgettable award because it's such a unique, award, Best First Book. It means that there should be a second book, and it means that it's the first voice of a writer, di ba? And for me, it means a lot of things also as a judge. I'm going to talk about that. No? And for that, I want to thank Jing for choosing me to be a judge. No? It represents the first voice of a writer. No? That means there will be more voices ahead of you. That's quite important because it's important for writers, in my opinion, no, to see themselves as, as having a path. No? It means there will be another book, and also it means it reflects the spirit of the awards. Because when I was reading the books, no, all the books, and this is not my first time to judge it, no, my thought was always, no, has this been done, no, or number 2, has it been done better, no, and that, of course, we don't have to define what best is or better is, so you just know it, no. So it was always tough and always rewarding, no. At the same time, I always ask myself, what does it mean to be better? These days, so 25 years, you have to be better than everything that has been published. No, it's not just a nice brownie point award, di ba na? Para kang Boy Scout na you're the most likely to succeed. For me, I always want to know that it's a book that is innovative. The voice is innovative, and because if you don't have an innovative voice as a writer, don't come out with your book yet. No. And I think that all the winners of the awards, no, I'm not going to talk about me, except myself, no, have really been innovative. No, we're innovative. First book pa lang nila, no. I want to thank Likhaan for the support and for the journal, no, kasi in the journal, lumabas na pala, Vlad, yung journal. Online, it's online already. Makita natin dun yung journey ng mga writers who've already won. And I'm going to talk about myself briefly because it represents my story in that book. My story in that book is Filipino. No, first time I returned to Filipino after such a long time, and after my attempt at spreading doing narratives across formats like film and other formats. No? And na-realize ko, kailangan may innovation din. I'm not saying innovative. We try to be as innovative as possible, and that's what the spirit of the awards is for. No? It's to reward, to recognize innovative writers and new voices. No? Now is a good time to ask, 25 years onward, if we did achieve some mastery, in the language, in the narrative form, in resisting things, in countering forms. Enough for us to look at the shelf of the previous winners of all the 25 years and say, all of these represent something on the road of our literature. No? And I think this year's winners, kasama yung mga finalists, kasama yung mga special awards, so something to be proud of, really, and something that I feel very privileged to have read. No? Otherwise, hindi ko mababasa yung 30 plus books kung hindi ako inassign na maging judge. So, thank you again. No? And congratulations to the winners.
Thank you, Sir Sarge and Ma'am Jing. Please stay. Please stay. Because up next, we have the awarding of certificates to the finalists and the special recognition awardee for this year. I would like to call on stage our finalists and our special recognition awardee. Please come on stage as I read the citations. Our first finalist, Douglas Candano for Infinite Lives, Infinite Deaths, published by Penguin Random House Southeast Asia 2024. Stay here. Yes. In Infinite Lives, Infinite Deaths, Douglas Candano gathers history, identity, urban folklore, science fiction, horror, and metafiction with an ambition that is rare in contemporary Philippine literature. Set in a Manila that feels both intimate and eerie, each story shifts genre and register. Yet the collection is connected by a deep philosophical coherence. Candano writes with an intelligence that is both structural and emotional, creating fantastic narratives that unsettle as much as they illuminate unseen tensions. With fearless imagination, its formal precision, and its willingness to confront the fractures that shape our histories and haunt our futures, Candano expands what Philippine fiction in English can attempt and achieve. His stories become a prism through which to examine cultural rupture, the persistence of myth, and the fragile, recurring hope of transcendence. Ladies and gentlemen, Infinite Lives, Infinite Deaths is a remarkable work of fiction that refuses easy boundaries between realism and speculation. Let us give a warm round of applause for Douglas Candano. Photo op. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. 1, 2, 3. Let's give another warm round of applause. Congratulations. You may take your seat. And next, our next finalist, 𝗍𝗄𝗄 Legaspi for the Fireline, Stories from Cagayan de Oro, published by the University of the Philippines Press in 2024. In just 10 unassuming short stories, 𝗍𝗄𝗄 Legaspi confidently sketches a vivid portrait of a milieu rarely seen in Philippine fiction in English. No 𝗍𝗲𝗂𝗏 bitterness or disdain here, just concern and an abiding affection for the city of golden friendship. Miss Legaspi's storytelling skills are such that she immerses readers in the travails of her young characters almost by surprise, without resorting to histrionics or rhetorical flourishes. Hers is a steady, assured voice, laying down one precise, nicely observed detail after another, murmuring, "And then this happened," as she leads us from valley to peak to devastating denouement. The intense focus on a single city paradoxically opens up these narratives to encompass the elusive phantom of the nation still becoming forever on the verge of consummation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a warm round of applause for our finalist, 𝗍𝗄𝗄 Legaspi. Photo op. Smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations, 𝗍𝗄𝗄. Next, our next finalist, Alyza Taguilaso for Juggernaut, published by University of Santo Tomas Publishing House, 2024. What makes a good poet? Confidence, ambition, lucidity, a point of view, and something to say. The title of Alyza Taguilaso's debut poetry collection is both description and threat. One emerges from any of these poems overwhelmed by the breadth and fullness of its lyric vision and astonished at the precision of its intuition. The reader's strategy can only be surrender. Or allow a phrase or line to catch the eye, trace the glimmer of its path as it slithers from image to idea, from proposition to pronouncement. These are poems that know. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause for our finalist, Alyza Taguilaso. Photo up, 1, 2, 3, smile. One last, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, congratulations once again. And our next finalist, Michael Beltran, for the singing Detainee and the Librarian with one book, Essays on Exile, published by the Ateneo Press in 2024. There is so much to say about what seems to be a little book. Seemingly just a book of feature essays. It is also history, political critique, and even a kind of Bildungsroman as you watch Beltran. Watch closely and change. It is this reflection on size, breadth, and depth that girds the brilliance of the book. Characters are astutely recorded in the encounters Beltran makes with Jose Macizon, Julie de Lima, and the host of other Filipinos caught in exile, what Beltran aptly calls imprisonment by displacement. The arrest and capture of so-called enemies of the state appear in our consciousness as sound bites, brief photos in a newspaper, but these essays capture the minutiae of what it means to fight for our country. We hear firsthand what imprisonment looks like, what solitary confinement sounds like, and what meeting presidents who hold lives in their powerful hands feel like. Strangely enough, in those encounters, those who are handcuffed look freer. Anyone with any shred of humanity who reads these stories will feel the physical pain and mental anguish of the singing Detainee and the Librarian with one book. This particular essay, as an attempt at humor, illustrates the incredible strength of Cizon and de Lima, cataloging what measures they took to remain sane. Oh, to sing to remember one's voice always. Oh, to read and write, to know one is not alone. One wonders what would happen if the shoes were on our feet, if we had to literally fight for our country, if we lived under the specter of death for our love of country. We who live here think very little of what our freedoms cost others. Exiles, from whatever cause or whatever manner, suffer from an authentic love of country that has cost them the opportunity to live in their country, to fight within the boundaries of a demarcated nation. This does not deter the exiles, continuing to find ways of pushing their cause, agreeing to the rules of conduct of exile, finding strength in what is right, finding peace in a just cause. Beltran tackles this immense space with a careful eye, aware of his biases, always weighing in his description and interpretation how best to be fair to all. It is this journalistic eye and heart that one can hear in every essay. In writing, we speak of tone or point of view, but we never speak of love or hope. But this book has both, in abundant measure. History and context abound, and one ends the book with questions that cannot be quelled. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause to our finalist, Michael Beltran. Photo up, 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. Yes. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you once again. This essay. Oh, yes, sir. Ma'am, meron pa po tayo. Yes. Now I'm going to read the citation for the Special Recognition Awardee. Miss Susan Claire Agbayani for Tugtugan Pamorningan, the Philippine Music Scene, 1990 to 1999. Susan Claire Agbayani documents the 1990s Philippine music scene with precision, affection, and historical insight, tracing how alternative rock, OPM, jazz bar subcultures, indie movements, and club nightlife converged into a generational movement. Her reportage captures not only the artists and their songs, but the venues, communities, and socio-political rhythms that made the era crackle with life and possibility. Tugtugan Pamorningan is a vivid portrait of a decade that reshaped the country's musical and cultural landscape. We recognize this book for its depth of research, clarity of narrative, and devotion to preserving a crucial moment in Philippine cultural history. Agbayani transforms music journalism into an act of cultural stewardship, reminding us how sound can shape identity, resistance, and memory. Tugtugan Pamorningan does more than chronicle a decade. It restores its pulse, allowing old fans and new readers to hear once again, or at long last, the soundtrack of a transformative generation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm of applause for special recognition awardee, Miss Susan Claire Agbayani. Congratulations. Please stay. May I invite our finalists? Ma'am, please stay. Our finalists to join here in front, and attorney, yes, for another photo op. Congratulations, everyone. Okay, everyone ready? Show your certificates. 1, 2, 3. Smile. One more. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you, everyone. Let's all give another warm round of applause. You may return to your seats. Thank you. And up next, it's time for more surprises. Since it's been 25 years of celebrating first books, let us remember to not only commemorate our winners, but also our finalists and everyone who made all of this possible. It is important to note to not just celebrate first books, but support the next works our writers and artists put out. With that, the Likhaan 𝗍𝗶𝘁 is pleased to announce the Likhaan Special Edition for 25 years of 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶. And now, to introduce the Likhaan Special Edition, may I call in front the issue editor, Dr. Vladimir V. Gonzalez.
Una po ay gusto ko lang pasalamatan at batiin si Miss Titin Villanueva kasi ito yung first hosting gig niya for ICW. So palakpakan po natin si Miss Titin, may pakabayan. Opo, gusto ko talaga rin minsan bilang kasama ng ICW na pinapakilala sa mga kaibigan ko, halimbawa na sa teatro, yung mga kaibigan ko naglilimbag ng mga libro, at yun nga yung masaya ako na nakasama na si Miss Titin dito sa ating happy ICW family. So thank you po sa pagbayag, Miss Titin. Sana hindi ka nasa-stress. Tapos, actually, si Miss Titin na family of doctors yan. At ang pinili niya ay sining. So kung in terms of mga ruta, Charles Lacuesta route siya at hindi 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗏 route. Kasi sining muna imbis na pagiging medical doctor. Buti pa si Miss Alyza, sabay. So pwede naman palang sabay. O actually si Doc Ron din. Anyway po, ako po ay narito na naman para ipakilala ang Likhaan Special Edition. Meron po tayong mock-up copies dito at nabigay din po tayo kay Attorney Ging para syempre may mayuwi siya. Yung apat po yan, so yung dalawa kay Attorney Ging, pag nawawala po yung dalawa, okay lang naman. Pero sana po isoli ninyo. May regular issues po tayo lagi ng Likhaan Journal of Contemporary Philippine Literature. ito po yung mas competitive. So nagpapasa yung mga tao every year, sinasala, minsan 300 entries yung nagpapasa. Pag di nakuha, minsan na-Facebook kami na na kunin namin yung pondo ng gobyerno, etc. Pero for the most part, GV naman at nakakakuha sila ng 10K kada taon sa Writers' Night. Bukod po doon, meron po tayong pondo ngayon para sa special na issue na kumakatawan sa mga particular na karanasan na specific sa ICW. Kaya minsan tumutugon sa malawakang isyung sa tingin namin ay marapat paglaanan ng pagsipat at panulat. Ilan sa mga naabutan ko, una yung 4 na po na manunulat para sa ika-40 taon na likhaan noong 2018. Meron po tayong 𝗣𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗶, Literature in the Time of COVID-19. Doon sa unang issue, si Ron ay isang suki natin doon at nakapagbigay siya ng pyesa na nagkaroon na 5 issue mula 2020 hanggang 2022. Noong nakaraang taon, ang 2 special na issue nagtampok naman kina 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀 at Kim Derla, mga nagtapos sa programang Creative Writing at Malikhaing Pagsulat sa UP Diliman. Ngayong taon, gaya po na nasabi ng ating kasamang tagapagpadaloy ng programa, pagdiriwang po ito ng ika-25 taon na syempre karangalan ko ipakilala itong special na issue na nagtatampok sa mga finalists at syempre sa mga nagwagi sa Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award. At in a way po, ito po ay pagkilala rin dun sa mga taong inabutan ng pandemya na hindi nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na magkaroon ng physical launch. So, karamihan po actually dun sa mga finalists na naanyayahan sa special issue na ito ay from 2020 to 2021 na cycle. At again, nagpapasalamat po kami sa mga nagpaunlak dahil maiksi-maiksi yung panahon para ihanda ito. Bukod sa pagdiriwang sa nakaraang 25 taon ng gawad, pagkakataon din itong special issue, cover ni Jordan yan, na parang makumusta at makasilip sa mga piyesang nalikha nila pagkatapos ng kanilang unang libro. Kaya nalala ko pala, Miss Titin, so may mga bumulong kanina dito na sana onting busina lang doon sa kamusta sa second book. Kasi may mga na-trigger dyan na parang, hindi ko pa nagagawa ito mga 5 taon na. So yung iba, okay naman po, may second book na. Pero yung iba, wala pa. So konting hinay lang daw sa pangungumusta sa second book. Pero meron mga ilang bagong pyesa na pa isa-isa at nakapagbigay naman sila sa isyong ito. So taglay po ng una, syempre kailangan natin kilalanin na nasa panahon tayo na binabaka pa rin natin ang bahat kalamidad habang inahagila pa rin ang mga ninakaw or ninanakaw na pondo ng bayan. Syempre, taglay ng likhaan ang mga tula sa naysay at istorya naghihiraya sa mga mundong halimbawa nalubog at nalugbok na rin sa tubig. Meron tayong mga piyesa nagtatampok sa komersyo at paglikha ng sining sa panahon ng artificial intelligence. Meron tayong mga halimaw na nalilikha mula sa pag-alis sa sariling bayan. Medyo napunta ng Australia. Mamaya mababasa po yan. Siyempre yung tungkol sa pag-uwi sa mga wika at lunang tinataton natin bilang tahanan. Bukod sa maiksing paglalarawan na aasahang mabasa sa koleksyon, masaya rin ako siyempre na marami sa manunulat kahit yung mga dating nagwagi o kaya yung mga dating nagwagi o kaya ay naging finalist sa kategorya ng Ingles ay nag-team Filipino po muna sa cycle na ito. Nagsulat sila at piniling magsumite ng pyesa sa wikang Filipino at malaking bagay yan para sa akin. Kung nandun lang tayo sa pagpapalawak at pagpapaunawa ng mga pyesa, baka nakakatulong din yun sa maraming bilang ng tao. Sinikap tipunin ang mga kontribusyon sa loob ng limitadong panahon. Mag-roll ko lang po ako ng mga tao nandito na nakapagbigay at nagpapasalamat po kami syempre na nakatugon at nakasama ka namin kayo sa paglulunsad ngayong araw. Though wala si Miguel Paulo Celestial, siyempre kikilalanin ko siya bilang recent winner. Siyempre si Sarge Lacuesta yung unang nagwagi. So pasasalamat sa pagpasa agad-agad. Very good yan si Sarge. Thank you. Na ito po si Adam David, si Alan Pastrana nandito, Zeno AD, VJ Campilan, marinig yung boses niya mamaya. Kaya po natin, Frank C. Matu, sa pinamaaga, Joel Donato Shinghakop, si Cupcake, Ronnie Baticulon, nabanggit natin, may na-miss ba ako na present ngayon sa Saan? Si Nap Arcila. Hindi, may sisingilin ko pa yan si Nap. Ayun nga, kaya nga ang aking punto pala ay, susunod ko na po. Una, syempre, sorry po. Nagpapaumanihin at di kinaya sa procurement schedule at iba pang technical requirements ang paglabas ng maramihang printed copies ngayong araw. So kung may pumitik nga po, okay lang po. Wala naman pong masasaktan. Pero sa ngayon po, ang soft copy ng Likhaan Special Edition ay naka-upload na ngayon sa panitikanph.com. Nais ko rin ipabatid at yun po ang aking shoutout kay Sir Nap, baka naman, na magkakaroon ng updated version nito sa Pebrero 2026. para sa ilan pa mga finalists at winner na nagpahayag ng interest upang makasama natin sa special na isyong ito. At for many reasons ay hindi lang umabot sa deadline. Sisikaping may ibigay sa mga nakalok ang kopya ninyo bago matapos ang opisina sa Disyembre, so para hindi kami singilin, o pagdating ng unang linggo ng 2026. At muli po ay ipapasalamat tayo kay Attorney Gisela Madrigal-Gonzalez Montinola sa pagtatatag ng gawad na ito na nagbigay ng karagdagang motibasyon sa mga manunulat natin upang lumikha pa ng lumikha. Ang managing editor po natin ay si 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗏, so nagpapasalamat din tayo sa kanya. Wala lang siya dito kasi nagre-rehearse. May show po kami sa Thursday, baka gusto nyo manood sa UP Diliman, 7 p.m. po. Ganap series po ito. Bukod kay Harvey, si Jordan Santos po na consistent nating collaborator, ay book designer, at si Nestor de Guzman na ating copy editor. Siyempre, pasalamat po sa suporta nila Ma'am Jing, Sir Vim, lahat ng kasama, Sir Charleston sa ICW para sa pagtulak na mabuo ito at umabot sa pagtitipon hanggang sa Writer's Night. At sa ating mga manunulat na dumalo, lubusang pasasalamat at pagbati, kaunting hintay na lamang po sa inyong physical na kopya. At siyempre, sana lagi namin kayo makasama sa mga proyekto ng likhaan. Sa ngalan ng libre, accessible at mapagpalayang panitikan, ulit-ulit po ako doon kasi mahalaga talaga yon. Iba yung pagpupugay sa espesyal na issue ng likhaan hanggang sa kasunod na pagkata at paglikha ng ating hinihirayang mabuting mundo sa pamamagitan ng panulat. So, magandang araw po.
Thank you so much, Sir Vlad. And now it's time for us to hear the works of the authors themselves. To introduce and do a reading of her work entitled The Big Move, let's welcome here in front, Miss 𝗍𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗃.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to celebrate this milestone with my fellow writers. I'm reminded that I'm a part-time fiction writer, working full-time in financial services. The only reminder is when I get called for submissions, so I'm very honored to be with my fellow wordsmiths. This short story, I wrote this as a response to the growing likelihood that we will become climate refugees in the future. And in the story, the government, despite decades of warning, studies, back-to-back super typhoons, has managed to build only 6 synthetic islands before a tsunami finally submerged the country. Just 6 islands to mass evacuate everyone. And that's really the Philippine government in a nutshell. I wanted to redeem Filipino resiliency. I wanted it to be more than just thoughts, prayers, and acceptance, but rather a return to bayanihan at its most primal form. In the story, what's left of the Philippines, called the village, is a group of scientists, professionals, civilians, religious leaders, pooling their talent and grit to move not their neighbors' homes, but the entire country to ensure its survival. And in light of the flood control industrial complex corruption, it's getting clearer than ever that we're going to have to rely on our communities to save us from extinction. And I hope that when that time comes, it will be the greatest bayanihan the world has ever seen. The big move. Life in the village is like overlaying the new on the old. The food has evolved into its more streamlined form. Sometimes she misses the spices, but religion has remained as deep-rooted and complex as the dry days. The island can only accommodate one house of worship, and they built it to be as bland as possible to make room for all beliefs. There are no longer cathedrals, megachurches, mosques, and temples. There's only this all-glass round building with a transparent roof, the better to see God, as the elders would say. Not even an entire floating city built on the backs of mad science and engineering can erase a powerful deity who can control the elements. Science is just another Red Sea that God splits to displace miracles, her paternal grandmother would say, a devout Catholic who didn't even blink an eye when her only son admitted he's an atheist. Min Min doesn't know what to believe in, but she goes to the house of worship anyway. She finds it soothing to see the rest of the worshippers sitting quietly on the pews or the mats, waiting for a miracle day in and day out. Today, not many people are around, so she can afford to stay longer. She observes the clasped hands and bowed heads around her, the prostrate bodies on the mats. Maybe this move is the miracle they've been waiting for all along. Maybe it's their pillar of cloud and fire. Maybe this whole village is a transfiguration of God. Someone sits next to her. Her father is no longer wearing his lab coat, but his 15-year-old blazer with the elbow patches sewn over again and again. She stares at him. Now this is a miracle. You're the last person I expect in here. I'm testing a hypothesis, see? Which is, this building has relatively low return on investment, but it's a good one nonetheless. And why's that? It gives hope. I've observed that science is unable to inspire as much wonder as a divine intervention. She glances at the jagged wrinkles around his eyes and mouth. Throughout the early years of the village, her father burned. They simply didn't understand enough how much damage exposure to sun and seawater was at those temperatures, even with the right gear. The cancer vaccine saved him in the nick of time, but he will always be unusually wizened. Another relic they managed to salvage. It's because science is the result of human logic and creativity, she says, and man is not as alluring as a deity, I'm afraid. We're not wrapped in divine mystery or thunderclouds, just flesh and blood that can solve problems once in a while. He chuckles. Well, let them have their divine mystery. Who knows, maybe their prayers are being answered. We're moving 2 days ahead of schedule, after all. They sit in comfortable silence for a while. She takes his hand in both of hers. Dad, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to be alive with you. He squeezes her hands. Me too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss VJ Campilan. Our next author, Regan Maiquez, sadly won't be able to join us today, but in his place, I will be reading a poem from his poetry collection. This is Kataratang Nuklear by Regan Maiquez. Tingnan mo, mga upos ng sigarilyo na naipon sa cervix ng avenida. Mga baga, spybot, sphygmo na binibilang ang tibok habang humihigop ng ulap na asul. Dilaw, chamomile, tea tree. Usok ng duwende, alikabok ng gabi, at tanong ko, bakit pa tayo humihinga sa panahong ito ng hulas global at may amoy sinunog na spinifex sa gilid ng Waragamba habang umuungol ang mga dingong gutom. Tingnan mo. Pakinggan mo. iTunes dito, iTunes doon. Umiikot ang mga nota sa queer at electric na kuryente ni Turing, Alan Matheson na pumipintig, bumubulusok, hummingbird sa loob ng bungo. Buzz, static, Twitter. Mga sigaw ng ahente sa Maynila na nagyoyosi sa gilid ng kanilang pahinga, alingaw-ngaw ng didgeridoo mula sa Gandagay habang tumatawa sa dilim ang isang kookabarra. Pakinggan. Pakinggan mo. Titigan mo. Si Godzilla sa baso ng iced coffee. Teletubby na nagyayelo sa ibabaw ng foam. Netflix na nagbibiro habang natumba ako sa tawa ng sarili kong utot at tinanong ko, paano mo bubuhayin ng robot na asong gulo-gulo ang buntot? Isang gowana na naligaw sa kalsada ng Kakadu. At heto ka, nagpupunas ng virtual na pader. Nasa screen ng kaaway, nasa gunita ng kabataang minahal. Ako ito, nasa face dupe, nagpapadala ng lihim na nais ding mabasa. Like mo ako, hawakan mo ako, habang sinisindihan ko ang huling stick ng matandang pangako, abo ng sinunog na kurajong sa tabi ng yara. Hawakan mo ako. Tingnan mo ang kalat. O baka naman sining. Mga bansang ipinagpalit sa kripto, mga isla ng dolyar, yen na nakaharajuku, popcorn party sa tabi ng nagkukunwang sibilisasyon. Post, skandalo. Post, hashtag. Graffiti sa lumang bato ng kurong kung saan nakaupo ang mga walabi ng mga tanod bago magabi. At sa hangin, puting ingay. Pakinggan mo. Asul abong huni. Tingnan mo. Neon na tawa sa pagitan ng gutom at madaling araw. Hawakan mo. Kailangan mong mag-login sa bagong app na nagtatanong, ano ang layunin mo? Eat, pray, kung ano man. Eat, pray, tikman, lumusod sa dilim. Eat, pray, lawayan. At kung wala pa ring sagot ay maghintay ka ng notification mula sa Dreamtime kung saan umaawit ang mga ekidna sa ilalim ng buwan. Naaamoy mo ba? Ang spark ng drone na kumokolekta ng sugat ng desyerto. Solar helmet. Data tungkol sa gutom na bubuyog. Nakikipag-selfie sa billboard ng nag-aapoy na dagat at plastic na nilamon ng mga isda. Baramundi na nalunod sa Ningalu. Panoorin mo. Nasa TikTok na ang delubyo. Nasa Reels na ang extinction. Nasa live stream na ang global meltdown na may poppy filter at sparkle eyes. Biro ng katahimikan ng katashuta habang dumaraan ng mga emu na walang pakialam. Wala ba? At sino pa ang nanonood? Mga Diyos ng basura, mga bata sa estero, mga hayop sa basurahan ng lungsod. Pinapalakpakan nila ang pagbagsak ng kinabukasan. Karnabal sa Maribirnong kung saan ang mga wombat ay nagiging anino ng lumulutang na oil spill. Tingnan mo, pakinggan mo, tikman mo, hawakan mo. Ramdam mo? Once again, that was a poem entitled Kataratang Nuklear by Regan Maikes. Okay. And now, up next, it's finally time to announce the winner of this year's Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award. Let me call on stage once again Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo for the announcement of our winner. Let's give her a warm round of applause, everybody.
Okay, so this should be quick. The winner is Alyza Taguilaso for Juggernaut.
The book startles from the very beginning. Its author announcing that she would like to believe in a God that grants one's deepest desires without condition or sacrifice. From there, she ranges far and wide, from the divine to the mundane, from the comic to the tragic to the surreal. The political is central to this collection, as it takes on both the dictator who ordered extrajudicial killings to the wife of an earlier dictator who, despite the body cemented into the foundation, danced like Cinderella and other issues alongside. It is a dark world she paints, a dying world. Waves rising steadily as volcanoes sing anthems of ash and smoke, and a bleak country, a fractured archipelago. Its capital city full of cat-sized alley rats, gravel, asphalt, and floodwater. And yet, the book's longest section is devoted to men and women of science. The doctors committed to saving lives against all odds, even when confronted with patients whose condition is declared congenitally incompatible with life. Even in the midst of a deadly pandemic, it is an epic journey that the poet offers. But she will also turn suddenly around to address the man, her lover, who held her steady as she shook, frightened of all things good. Long before the journey's end, readers will recognize that they are in the presence of a poet who, young though she might be, richly deserves the words of highest praise. Words like insightful, original, formidable, and wise. This year's Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award is given to Alyza Taguilaso for her outstanding poetry collection, Juggernaut, published by the University of Santo Tomas Publishing House. Congratulations, Miss Alyza Taguilaso. Picture. Ma'am, May I request everyone to move here to this side because our projector, yes. Yes, photo. Nandito rin daw po ang publishers. Please join our winner in front. Representatives from the University of Santo Tomas Publishing House. Congratulations, Miss Alyza Taguilaso for her book, Juggernaut. Yan, okay. Picture. Sir, closer. There. Okay. Smile, everybody. Let me also call on Dr. Vlad Gonzalez, Sir Rex Nepomuceno, and our one more. Closer, everybody. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations to Miss Alyza. And now, it's time to finally hear a few words from our winner. Yes, Miss Alyza, we would want to hear a few words from you as our winner. Ladies and gentlemen, another warm round of applause to Miss Alyza Taguilaso.
Hello? Ayun. Thank you po. I made something in advance. Akala ko kasi wala lang. Anyway. So yun, nagkatotoo siya. Yay! Yeah! Alright. This is in font size 14, so I'm getting older. So it's a huge honor just to be among the finalists of the 25th Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award, to be recognized by Likhaan, the UP Institute of Creative Writing, and by a prize that has uplifted so many important voices in Philippine literature. I think it's something I will carry for a long time. Juggernaut is a book that began more than 15 years ago when I was a teenager trying to make sense of my grandmother's cancer. It was a type of lymphoma caused by immunosuppressive drugs she had to take due to her kidney transplant. And I was very close to my Lola Pearl. When she was a child, she would lull me to sleep with stories of fairies and giants. So watching her die, even if I understood what was happening scientifically, since I was already a biology major then, there was a difficulty really grasping the reality of it, you know? There's all that longing and then all that loss. And I didn't know it then, but the poems I wrote were my first attempts at witnessing, at holding pain without looking away. And through the years, the book followed me, even if I never really sought out to write one. Through medical school, through the long nights and long cases of surgical residency, through a global pandemic, through moments when writing felt like the only way to stay afloat. So I want to thank the judges for seeing the beauty in the universes I planted in Juggernaut. My deep gratitude to the University of Santo Tomas Publishing House, its director 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗶 and Deputy Director Paul Castillo, to everyone who was kind enough to write reviews of the books for Crip, the Philippine Star, Rolling Stone Philippines, the Philippine Daily Inquirer, the Varsitarian, the Filipino Shelf, Christine Vilao for the wisdom, friendship, and encouragement, my dear friends who helped me create a hefty amount of these poems, Ralph Fonte, Vince Agawili, Mark de Maisip, Michael de la Raco, William Guzmanos, Simon Sales, Leandro Reyes, R.R. Kagalingan, Carlos 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗋, Carlos Cruz, Enrique Villasis, 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀 Gutierrez, 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, Lester Abuel, Carl Orit, and 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Sanchez. Tin and Kel again for their gracious blurbs. My panelists and co-fellows from the following workshops where I learned to hone my writing: the 15th Siliman, the 10th Ateneo National Writers Age Reveal na to, the 10th IAS Creative Writing Workshop, the 15th Ateneo Heights Writers Workshop, and more recently, the 6th LaSalle CNF Workshop for Healthcare Professionals and the UST National Writing Fellowship. Special mention to Jordan Carniche and Tilde Acuña. Mark Kayanan, Vincent Serrano, and Pepito Gooco, who gave blurbs and helped me out in the chapbook, The Makings of Dynamite. My friends from Ateneo Heights, especially Fidelis Tan and Isabel Yap, who encouraged me to write poems all those years ago, Sir Larry 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀 and his class in poetry. To my family for the material and the support. All my love to my grandparents in heaven, Dr. Perla Singh Timbol and Architect Greg Timbol Jr. For Goose and Mamu. To our cats, 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗁𝗍, Smallberry, and Sheila P. To Juju Maglakas, here's to our dreams taking flight. Finally, I want to honor the younger version of myself who began these poems and the older version of myself who returned to them again and again, despite fear, despite doubt, despite anger. If there is anything Juggernaut hopes to prove, I think it's that healing and life are not straight lines. Sometimes it's a circle, sometimes it's a fresh wound that teaches you how to see. Maraming salamat po. Thank you for this recognition, and may we all continue to write in ways that make room for tenderness, clarity, and truth. Thank you po.
Congratulations, Miss Alyza. And please stay, because up next, as per tradition, our winner is now going to read an excerpt of their work. Yes? Siguro 2 poems to get everyone's attention. Let's start with the nicer one, and then let's end with the one that kind of hurts. Okay.
So, this one is fun to read. I think I wrote this for... This was initially published in Critica Cultura way back in 2015. This is called Purity Report. To save a failing heart with the makings of dynamite, to plow past a forest set to white flame, knees digging deeper into soot ice, seconds from being singed into blindness, to hear voices, to witness wars, waged with weapons, words, wives, to grant anger a beautiful face, its eyes draped in perfect blue, deception, the quiet ocean waiting for the sound of bare feet dancing on its surface, to slither from paradise and down the rabbit hole, arms ready to embrace the soil, the abundance of worms wriggling from stray apples, a wayward rib fractured from the impact, to harness planets with songs of a star on the verge of collapse, to converse with collisions and silver-eyed angels, wings swollen with grace, to believe in an absent God, to believe in belief itself, the difficult necessity of faith, to love and last long enough, to risk loss and becoming lost from too much longing, to feel hunger and turn the other way, to be named, find your place among all other animals, opposable thumbs, sharpened incisors, soft skin, the only barrier to a weak and human core, to drown desire, to touch the tender cheeks bruised from belief, all those kisses from an army of locusts, to wash off the psalms painted on palms, cold and upturned, to cast the first stone. Thank you. All right. Since relevant uli, we'll start with the first piece. Actually, my favorite pieces in this book is the first and the last. The last piece, The Story of Love, which I can't read now because it takes me 18 minutes. I tried to read it. It was my first ever published work. It came out in Critica Cultura, New Writings in English. Actually, 2 of the editors are here, Adam David and 𝗍𝗶 Cruz. Thank you for that window. I just wanted to say, so the first and the last. If you want a primer, you read the first and the last, and then you lie down and cry. My friends say that they can't read this thing in one go, and I agree. So I don't recommend reading this in one sprint. Take your time. It's very heavy. All right, anyway. So this poem is called 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Born around poverty, but not in it, I am called fortunate. 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Educated, but not bright enough to be a scholar. Rooted in the motherland, but not morena enough to warrant standard sympathies. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 mestiza. Hardship is measured by the shade of your skin, by how many vowels in your surname remains of your ancestors. And I am expected to migrate overseas because that's what Filipinas are bred for in the 21st century, says the gospel according to the internet. I made a mistake, picking to be a doctor instead of a nurse or someone's wife. So that meant everything became 10 times harder and more expensive. Good fortune is in your palms if you just work hard. But the trick only works had your family agreed to deal with politicians when the opportunity was fresh as a pearl. Napakaswerte. The hectares of land my forefathers farmed, now consumed by warring relatives. The shape of their greed, a map I've memorized in the dome of my pale skull. My father almost pawned off my education in place of the latest Mercedes-Benz when I was 5. And my people are known to be subservient. Those who dared fight the galleons in those early centuries were either charred into clumps of ash like their anitos or maimed with Christian names. I was named after a flower that meant joy, and really, I do not mean to be this unhappy. What I mean to say is I bear no ills for being born in these isles. My name is a constellation of defiant letters, offering mouthfuls for tongues to wrestle with, and I don't regret the witchcraft swimming in my veins. I can name the makings of a body good enough as any surgeon. These small hands have resected and resewn organs. These eyes have seen people impaled with arrows and live. Miracles, madness, sobrang swerte naman. But you know things are bad when they exhumed the dead dictator's remains and re-implanted it where we laid our heroes to rest. Learn to move on, they echo through faceless screens, calling evidence of human torture fake news. Roomfuls of data discredited by TikTok and vloggers. An archipelago splintered by algorithms and hunger, sold off to foreign buyers, a single island at a time. And when they decided to erase the faces of the heroes in our currency and replace it with a cute eagle nearing extinction, when they required face shields and curfews to combat a virus while hospitals swelled up like obstructed bowels, healthcare workers who choose to stay are told how lucky we are, underpaid but alive, lucky to breathe the poisoned air, to walk the hard earth our gods no longer recognize. Resilience, the national talisman used again and again, its edges blunt and dull, its sides stained with too much blood to clean. Napakaswerte. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alyza, and congratulations. Once again, you may return to your seat. Congratulations. And now, to officially close the program, let me call on Likhaan 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗍 Deputy Director, Sir Rex Sandro Nepomuceno.
Maraming salamat, Titin. Before we formally close the event, gusto naming syempre kilalanin ang mga naging hurado at ang nag-share syempre ng 25th Madrigal-Gonzalez First Book Award. Basahin ko lamang po yung citation namin. This certificate of appreciation is given to the following: Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo and si Mr. Angelo R. Lacuesta, and of course, kahit wala sila rito, Vicente Garcia Groyon and Rica Bolipata-Santos for participating as chair, si Ma'am Jing, at judges po, the rest of the three for the 25th Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Awards, presented this December 2 at the last Chukker Manila Polo Club, Makati City, signed by Dr. Vladimir Gonzalez, myself, and Attorney Gisela Madrigal-Gonzalez Montinola. Pagbati po sa ating mga hurado. Medyo mabigat yung certificates lang po.
Let's move here to this side because yes. Group photo. Closer, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Another one. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And now, that concludes our program for today. Oh, I apologize, sir. Yes, please.
Muli po magandang hapon sa ating lahat. We at the Likhaan University of the Philippines Institute of Creative Writing would like to express our gratitude to every one of you for taking the time to be here at, again, the 25th Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award. Again po, maraming pasasalamat kay Attorney Gisela Madrigal-Gonzalez Montinola, Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo, ang mga fellows ng ICW na andito, si Sir Vim Nadera, Sir Charles Ong ay narito, sa mga hurado natin, the past winners and finalists who took the time to be here. Of course, yung current finalists at ang winner natin, Ms. Alyza Taguilaso, ang aming administrative team, at project research assistants na sa araw na to, pinangunahan nila Rona de la Peña at ni PB Maranya. Narito sila. They made the event possible. Maraming salamat po sa ating lahat. The Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award is now a quarter of a century old. Kasing tanda ko. It's always been a singular type of award in the sense that you can only be nominated once and you can, of course, only win it once. But that ensures that the award is kept fresh, new, keeps itself not only in the realm of the present, but always in the contemporary as well, not completely in tune with the now or the here, always at a fissure. And this award has always encouraged works that are not completely in tune with genre, or the categorizations of genre or style or form. And I would assume that it's partly because of all these contradictory emotions that we feel when publishing a new book. You have that bravado, but you also have cold feet. You have, control over it, but you need to compromise, especially if it's being published by an institution. There's pride in it, but I assume there's some resentment with the books a few years after it's been published. There's always the joy of experimenting and trying to put out new stuff, but also that grief of trying to recover memory and trying to assemble it as it is. And the Likhaan, through all these contradictions and complexities, signifies and continues to signify its commitment to supporting these new writers, first-time authors or book authors, and with projects like the 25th, the 25 years of the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award collected in our Likhaan Journal Special Edition, and even with projects like the Philippine Writer Series and the Philippine Translator Series. The PWS, or the Philippine Writer Series, for example, are books that we publish with authors or fellows or even collaborators that we've had with Likhaan throughout the years. So we're going to have another round of a call for entries at the start of the year. So if you have new books, propose them, even translated works from regional languages. The Likhaan, of course, accepts a certain number of books per year to be published, usually at the end of the year. And this allows, of course, the writers allows Likhaan to revisit these writers, kumustahin sila, and try to publish the new works that they have. Initially, we wanted to publish yung excerpts of the original winning works, but we chose otherwise, and we thought, hindi, yung bago ng mga writers na to quote from Sir Sarge kanina, to sort of map out their journeys from when they first publish their own book to the now. And of course, again, we would like to thank our finalists and the labor that went through the publishing of their books, the infinite labor of trying to rejoin myth and the present time and the future time, the political dexterity needed. I was struck by what Michael mentioned a while ago about trying to self-censor some of the stuff during, the win of Marcos. And again, the dexterity needed to write about people in exile, the courage to write about the firelines in a wildfire of writing about our home. And of course, our confrontations with the juggernauts of trauma. Nasama kong lahat. So this has been the 25th the 25th year of the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award, to 25 years more. Maraming salamat po sa ating lahat.
Thank you so much, Sir Rex. That concludes our program for today. Thank you once again. It has been an honor being your host for this event. Happy 25 years to the 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗋. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Upcoming, up next. Yes, ang sabi ni ma'am, mag-group shot tayo. So congratulations to everyone who made this possible. Congrats to the finalists. Congratulations to the Special Citation Awardee. And of course, our winner. And as requested, let's all have a group photo in front. Group photo, everybody. Yes, please bring your certificates. Everybody, yes sir, all of us. Yes, maybe we can put, some people can sit on the chairs and then we can have a row at the back. Other people can sit here. Also at the sides, let's make room for everybody. Ipagkasya natin ang lahat ng tao sa photo. Yes. Please, please, please sit down. Everybody, please go to the front. Yes. Merong pwedeng umupo
Hello
na sa
po.
chairs.
Pumasok
And then,
pa po yung iba.
second
Pasok pa
row.
Po.
I think we can put more chairs in the
Closer
front.
po.
Para magkasya tayong lahat.
Yung mga nandito po, lapit pa po tayo. Ayan, lapit pa po, lapit pa po.
Maybe we can add chairs there for you para hindi naman kayo mahirapan sa side. Okay.
Sige.
Yes. Ma'am, baka gusto niyo pa ng chair. I think we can have chairs. See? Here. Please. Oo nga. Maybe some boys can stay in front daw. Baka may volunteers in front. Make sure that you can see the camera. Saan yung very first? Where do we look first? Which one? Please look here at the official photographer. Official photographer. Make sure you can see the camera, everybody. Up there. Okay, closer. I think we can move here. Yes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. 1, 2, 3, smile.
If they have a dream when they're young or something they love when they're young, to never let it go.
No, a first book is really your introduction of yourself to the world of readers. It gives readers a very clear indication of what you are about, what style of writing you do, and your perspective on the world at large.
This year is the 20th year, which we're all very happy about. The award was created together with the UP Creative Writing Center.
It has been able to identify the most promising writers of their generation. Those writers who have won that award are now all still publishing, winning other awards, and so on.
In terms of the writer who is alive and who is writing and who wants to write and who has just written his first book, this means so much. It happens once in his life and it means something all throughout his life.
20 years na. I didn't realize.
Ang sarap kasi it's really a celebration. And what are you celebrating, di ba? You're celebrating the individual work, but you're also celebrating the collective work of the community that can produce this kind of art. And you see the change in people when they're allowed that kind of freedom. Because that freedom means experimentation, it means imagination, it means trial and error, di ba? And all this is like all the masarap stuff of life.
Confidence booster ang Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award sa nagsisimulang mag-publish lalo na sa bansa natin na napakaliit at kulang ng suporta sa mga manunulat at artista.
First recognition for the first book is a very important one. It's parang you are marked as sort of a real author. Psychological, moral support in the form of financial allowance for the next book. So it's really a double, triple support.
It's encouragement, but at the same time, it's a push.
You know, if it's something you want to do, then you find a way to do it. This is the future, no, of literature.
I think it's still retained its great reputation. Everybody wants it. Saka yun nga, may tantalizing effect talaga yung award, the best first book. Genius na nag-isip niya. Kasi once ka lang pwede manalo. Tapos, hindi lang yun. One book mo lang ang pwede manalo, yung una mo. So what does it do? It really pressures you to make a great first book, di ba? Like, considering the quality of the winners. Talagang, wow! Buti hindi sila sumali nung year ko.
That's also the nice thing about this award. You cannot win it twice. And it will be forever new. A new pool of writers that will become part of it every year.
Kasi kung wala nito, ang mga kalaban mo agad, National Book Award na eh. Sabihin kalaban mo, mga veterano na. Sa Best First Book Award, siyempre, lahat kayo first-time author.
Yung malaking ginawa ng Madrigal-Gonzalez is to recognize the very young. Starting out lang talaga, but very good. Kasi wala rin nananalo dyan na hindi magaling.
Talagang, siyempre, pinaka-importante dyan yung quality ng trabaho. Mahusay ba yung pagsusulat? Makabuluhan ba? May sinasabi ba siya tungkol sa kalagayan natin bilang mga Pilipino, bilang isang lipunan, bilang individual?
And the writers really that have won have been all ages, and we're also very impartial in the choice.
Personally, as a reader, I'm looking for a breadth of vision. I'm looking for a quality of prose, quality of language that transports its readers to a world that is both familiar and strange. I want to see a world I can recognize but also find mysterious.
I'm looking for something fresh, a new way of looking at things, looking at the world, looking at nation.
Pag first few pages pa lang nung akda, gusto ko nang basahin hanggang dun sa dulo.
It's now become a rite of passage. I think a lot of young writers now look forward to joining.
A writer does not fit one mold. It's hard to find a role model. It's hard to know, well, can I really make a life and write? And so maybe this documentary is one way of also showing that, yes, you can make a life. There are many people who have made a life as writers and done other things as well. So it's also a way of just putting together the last 20 years and honoring everybody who's been part of the award.
Well, writing was the only thing I knew how to do reasonably well. Ito na yung naging buhay ko. Ito bumubuhay sa pamilya ko. Don't think I could have been without having pursued creative writing.
Writing has really been something that's a part of my life and has really made my life more whole.
2007, knowing very little about the publishing world, being a secret writer, it was really a big boost to my confidence that I was seen as a writer.
Solid ang naging contribution ng Madrigal-Gonzalez Prize as far as the development of the Philippine novel in Filipino and English is concerned. Kinilala niya yung mga aspirants for that genre at saka doon sa mga experimentations na ginagawa doon sa genre na yun.
Naging buhay ko na ang libro pagkatapos ng 2006. It was like a confirmation on my part na may buhay naman sa pagiging manunulat.
Kung titignan mo, creative writers ang pinakamahirap at nangailangan ng tulong. Kaya, anumang uri ng tulong, no, tatanggapin ng manunulat yan.
Unang-una, mahirap mabuhay sa Pilipinas. Parang yung ganong basic na level na kailangan mong kumain ng 3 beses sa araw, kailangan mo ng bahay. Kung pag magsusulat ka ng nobela or other literary forms, hirap talaga siya kasi extra yon, hindi ka aasa nakikita yan. A book is an investment. Otherwise, parang sa tingin ko mahirap talaga siya kasi nga kailangan mo siyang immerse ng maraming taon.
The first book is hard to produce because you have no experience in producing a book. Nobody knows you, so you have to look for a publisher who will trust you and finance you. Without that first book, it would have been difficult for me to keep doing this for the rest of my life.
Na-imprint rin sa utak mo bilang nagsusulat na hindi natatapos yung trabaho ng pagsusulat. Parang i-edit mo pa yan, gagawa pa ng multiple drafts yan, lilinisin mo yan, ila-layout yan, aayusin pa, lilinisin mo pa, tapos i-approve pa yan, yung cover, ganun rin, i-approve pa yan, etc. Tapos pagkatapos ng libro na siya, ibibenta na, ipopromote mo pa, magsasalita ka about it, all those things.
Siguro na-configure na rin ng mga parents ko na bagaman walang pera sa panulat, may iba itong binuksan sa akin at sa kanila na rin.
One of the pioneers in this award was Jing Hidalgo. I was doing a workshop with her and I wanted to do something to help writers. And she said, why don't you consider helping young writers in particular? Because writers starting their career, sometimes, they need a little encouragement, they need a little push, sometimes a little bit of financial help for simple things like buying a laptop, like taking maybe a month or two off to be able to write without worrying about how to support themselves. So I thought, it was an excellent idea. And that's how the award was born.
Discussing it with Ying one time, in her mind, what would help endow an award that would enable the writer not to be preoccupied too much with earning a living. Because most of the writers are not full-time writers, myself included. And then she said, if I provide an award that will enable the writer to take a break and not do anything but finish whatever work he or she has in progress, would that help? And of course, I said, of course it would. Anything would help. And that's how it started. She's a very gifted woman. She's a very successful lawyer. And she's a very, very good writer. But she doesn't seek the spotlight for herself. She is more interested in helping others.
I guess it's like, if you have a kid and the kid is born and then is 1 year old and then goes to school and then suddenly teenager, then suddenly college na. So that's my feeling about the award also. One of the nice things also is the commitment over the years. If there's something that you care about and you commit to, it will happen. We never thought of stopping. You just have to be consistent. If it's done well, then it will have a life of its own and probably effects that and we never dreamt of when we started the award.
May kahirapan nga lang sapagkat, ayun nga, iba-iba yung mga genre. Naglalaban ang poetry sa nobela o sa graphic novel. So halo-halo na yan. Kaya kailangan din maghanap kami ng mga judges na sanay magbasa sa lahat ng mga genre na ito.
Sa ICW, they take practicing writers, award-winning writers, and sila yung nagja-judge ng work.
Medyo mahirap nga itong Madrigal-Gonzalez because it covers all genres.
Tuwa ako sa process kasi pag dinideliberate siya, kasama mong nakikipag-usap ang mga kapwa mo rin. Mahilig magbasa, mahilig magsulat. Ang naging conscious lang ako nung kinuha ako na judge dyan. Dapat lumabas yung bago, yung sariwa, yung hardly said. Bigyan ng pagkakataon yung mga hindi masyadong kilala. Ganun ka-ideal yun.
And I get so thrilled by seeing what's out there by young people. Sobra kong kinikilig yung parang, oh my God, parang the depth and richness of the Filipino experience is so, naiyak ako. Parang, oh my God, there's so much to write about in our country. There's so many stories not being told, or so many areas of life that remain hidden, or remain unspoken.
By choosing a very good judges for this, the awards are judged blindly. Hindi alam kung sino yung magiging judge. At mismo sa amin, sa loob ng 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶, hindi namin alam kung sino yung nanalo dito hanggang dun sa araw ng awarding. And we have maintained that secrecy also very strictly.
Wala talaga nagsasalita sa kanila. Kung kahit anong gawin mo, natutuwa ako pag binibiro ko sila, ma'am. Ayaw nilang sabihin talaga kahit yung, ma'am, kahit kahit initials lang, yung mga ganun ba. Ayaw talaga nilang sabihin kasi dapat talaga confidential.
All I remember was, syempre we were all excited because it's the first award. The awards have always been in UP.
Actually parang may Oscars, Grammys, Emmys na hindi nila alam.
So, hindi ko alam na nominee ako. Ayaw ko sanang umattend pa ng awarding ceremony. Maliit lang yung place sa Toyota Center yata yung yun. Ang dami pa lang pumupunta doon sa awarding night na yun,
Pero bago yun, meron muna panel discussion. So yung lahat ng finalists, minsan galing pa sa malalayong lugar, nakakapagsalita kasi kung paano mo isinulat ito.
In-interview kami ni Professor Beam. So sasagot ka ng mga serye ng mga questions bago yung awarding. Maraming kaba. Nung last few sentences na nung dinidescribe niya yung so alam ko na Nakakatawa yun. Hindi pa tinatawag yung pangalan ko, napatayo na ako, no, na sa awarding.
At yun, siyempre, pagkatapos ng mas mayamang talakayan, lagit-lagi silang merong mayamang hapunan. Kaya tuwa kami. Tapos magbusog na, papasok yung writer's net at mayamang inuman.
Hindi kilala sa taong ito na pinakamahusay sa hanay ng mahuhusay ang 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗏.
Hindi ko nag-expect talaga na manalo. Pero pinipilit kasi ako ng mama ko gumawa ng speech.
When you are a finalist, it is as though you also won. Because during the award ceremony, everyone is invited, not just the winner. It's not only the one who wins the Madrigal-Gonzalez that has a citation. All the finalists have. And so you feel that you are also a winner.
And the citation is written by one of the judges. And it describes parang the qualities of the book. You know, just having that citation is great. Parang hindi siya medal, hindi siya certificate na parang pwede mong i-reproduce, no? I-scan mo, palitan mo yung pangalan, pwede na, boom. Ito hindi, sa'yo lang siya.
I remember the first winner was Sarge Lacuesta. We were all, of course, 20 years younger then.
Hi, I'm Sarge Lacuesta, and I was the first winner of the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award. Okay, so 20 years ago, basically it's the same. I'm happy and I'm proud, actually, to say that I've been writing. It's something that I should be proud of because there's so much going on in life that prevents you from writing. Happy to be writing. I don't know what the writing is like, if it's good or not. It's my favorite book of mine. Well, hindi dahil first, no, parang uniko iyo, hindi dahil dun, but because there were stories there that still capture how I feel about that life. They're very personal, and parang the stories there don't care. The writer of that book didn't care about his audience, about his readers. He just cared about expressing whatever he felt. And I always like to go back to that writer who doesn't care. At the end of the day, it's the work. You're not playing to a crowd. You're not writing to a crowd, but you're writing to the work. If we're serious about literature and its role in art, then we must play to it. I'm just really a writer. And whatever I look at, kung ano man yung medium na yun, I will approach it like a writer does.
Another one who won the second year is 𝗶𝗏𝘁𝗶𝗶. With that book, won the Palanca. And then went on to win the Madrigal-Gonzalez and then the National Book Awards. So in short, nanalo yan ng lahat ng awards.
It's been more than a few years. It's been almost 2 decades now. So I've been based in Singapore. I work as an editor for News and Current Affairs Network in Singapore. I've been writing a little bit here and there, but when I was writing it, nobody knew who I was. There's really nothing to worry about, and I was really writing for myself. And when you write for yourself, I think you write honestly. I just wrote the kind of book that I wanted to read. It's helped push the book into hands that might not otherwise have heard of it. How did I fall in love with writing? I didn't. I don't think I'm a typical writer in that I don't love writing, and it's hard. It's hard work. Harder when you feel you have something that you want to say, and harder when what you have to say could be unpopular or even dangerous. But why do we do it? Why do we preserve the thing? Writing provides a record of who we are.
I think yung pinaka-exciting na winner noon sa 4 years that I worked in the Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award, si 𝗍𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗏. It's exciting, no, na parang a work like that, no, a graphic novel won the award.
Actually, it opened many doors for me. Nagkaroon ako ng ibang collaborations, other invitations because of that. I just do what I do with the best of my abilities. So, for that to happen, hindi ko talaga siya in-expect. Tapos nung na-final siya, parang, ganyan. So, masaya na ako doon, actually. Love ko siyang gawin. So, parang, I don't see myself doing any other stuff aside from, kasi kung meron man akong gagawin, let's say, magturo lang ako or mag-freelance lang ako, nandun pa rin yun eh. Kung hindi man ako magsulat or hindi man ako magkwento, kung paano ako magturo, magkukwento pa rin ako. Pag nagsusulat ka naman kasi hindi mo naman i-intend na mananalo to ng award. Parang hindi. You just write because you want to. So, ganon siya.
Ako po si Adam David. Ako ay kasalukuyang nagtuturo ng paggawa ng comics at pagbabasa ng comics sa Philippine High School for the Arts. Technically, ito yung unang libro in the sense na square bound tapos may ISBN. Yung 𝗍𝗶𝘶𝗶 Variations ay collection siya ng 1989 rewrite ng unang 2 linya mula dun sa kantang Ang Huling 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶 ng Razorheads. Ni-rewrite siya bilang 𝗑𝗏𝗏, reductive, tanaga siya, rin comic strip, meron rin tarot card, etc. etc. Inspiring siya. Tipong pag malaman mo yung konsepto, yung utak mo marami na maiisip na kung ano-ano.
Nung araw, ito yata yung first poetry book, first book in 3 languages, first book published outside Manila, first book published by a non-reputable press. After Madrigal-Gonzalez Best First Book Award, I started my teaching career, and then I put up an independent bookshop called Savage Minds sa Naga. Binuksan ng panulat ko ang karanasan kong makapaglayag. Maabot ko ang Baguio hanggang sa ang una kong mga trips abroad ay dahil sa panulat. Ito na yung buhay ko. Ito na yung buhay na tatahakin ko. May sarili silang buhay, ano? At hanggang ngayon, may mga taong ang nananatiling alaala sa akin ay ang unang aklat. At natatakot ako doon na sabi ko, nag-evolve naman ako. Basahin nyo naman yung pang-4 o yung pang-5.
As a writer, talagang past is past din ako. When I'm right, I just finished something like huge and long. 3 years from now, it's not gonna be so anymore. It's not going to speak the truth so much anymore, but it's going to speak the truth of that time. So parang the writer I was in 2001, parang nanalo ng award for a book. First of all, I was confident that, okay, it's a book, galing, published, nanalo, wow. May nagbabasa pala. Wala akong illusions that writing was a commitment. Na parang pag nagsulat ka ng libro, huwag may expect na sobrang magiging sikat ka kaagad. And besides, kung yun ang ginagawa mo, if you're busy writing your history, di ba? Instead of writing history, forget it. Now, I know what the use of the writer is. And I like to say that I'm always trying to learn what the narrative is now and what it's not.
I can always launch into critical blah blah when it comes to the work. Pero kung hindi yun nakikita ng ordinary reader, I guess I have failed. What's more important to me is the emotional truth of the work. Ang ambag kasi nung makinilang altar sa akin, naging defined kung ano ang aking history. Hindi na rin ako ang author na lumikha nito nung panahong sinulat ito. Ito'y isang formation work para sa akin. Mas naging klaro ako sa kung ano ang gusto kong gawin sa pagsusulat.
It's really important to have a group of people who also believe that what you're doing is important because they're doing the same thing.
Writing is difficult enough, and if we do not support each other as a community, it will become even harder. We have to bond together. We have to find ways of recognizing each other's work, and the Madrigal-Gonzalez Award is one of those very important means supporting each other, especially the young and the new.
Pro-writer kasi ang likhaan, ang concern niya talaga welfare ng mga manulat.
Malaking bagay na may mga ganitong safe spaces.
I guess if you think of puhunan, di ba? May puhunan na ako of age, puhunan of experience, puhunan of courage and bravery, and acceptance from the writing community. I think is also very crucial, you know, that there were people who were really supportive.
Laging itinuturo to ng nanay ko iwasan na lumaki ang ulo. You must forever challenge yourself to do more.
Kung nanalo ka ng Madrigal Best First Book Award, nanalo ka because people or the judges deemed that you should be writing more.
Being an artist is a long career. You can't possibly learn everything in your 4 years of college and creative writing. You know, you can't learn it in one piece, one book. And it evolves. And the more committed you are to art, the more it asks of you as well. Diba? Not everybody becomes award-winning, productive, creative writer. You know? But everybody, I do believe, is a creator.
The role of the writer now is larger.
There's so much that we haven't even scratched the surface of. When your writer and your book shows you that you have to continue in spite of, that the work needs to be done in spite of difficulty. That is to me what makes a writer great.
The vision is always with the artist because the artist is perpetually imagining the future of things that have not yet happened. So they are the ones who have the skills and the vocabulary to build a world that is not yet there. Awards celebrate that, whether they know it or not. They celebrate the possibility of an imagined future. It's such a joyful act. It's a nod to the abundance of the universe that you have this many books by this many first-time writers. You know.
Inisip ko na trabaho ko ito na balang araw, magsisisi ako dahil wala akong ginawa. Trabaho natin yon bilang mga alagad ng sining. At balang araw, di ba, mababalikan nila at sasabihin nila, buti na lang, ginawa ng mga nauna sa atin yung dapat nilang gawin.
Well, ako kasi naniniwala ako that literature is important. A country that has no literature is very impoverished.
Every language is precious, and when the language dies, what dies is a human consciousness. The language is the embodiment of the consciousness of a community.
Believe in yourself. Believe that there's a world out there that you can contribute to, that only you can contribute to it. I would encourage everyone, no matter what stage you are in life, no matter what you do, if there's something in you that is drawn to writing, then by all means pursue it. No matter how busy you are, you can make time for it.
I think what's important is that people keep producing. And when people keep producing, some of those people will produce really good work. Yun yung hope mo.
I'm very hopeful that the next generation will be even better than ours.
Your name on the cover of a new book and your name on the spines of books, that is really worth living for. Kaya I'm also urging all our beginning authors not to stop with one. Some of your book will not be as good as the others, but that's again part of the writing life. It's a lot of hits and misses, but the important thing is that you're there plugging away and leaving something behind you for people to read and to enjoy and to think about long after you're gone.